Yes,
Hello,
yes. Hi, Rebecca. Welcome back to
how
our
you
channel.
doing?
Yes, very
Well,
much
welcome
fine.
back to my channel. We're streaming on both channels at the
Both
same
channels,
time.
yeah. So, welcome back to our channel. Okay, that's the best way.
You know what my
So,
favorite thing that we did? We had declared completely different topics on each channel.
yes. Anyway, so for me, when I invite a Jew onto my channel, people always will have an idea of what all things that I'll be about to ask you. So there's nothing more for them to be anxious about or much apprehensive about what I'm going to ask you. So anyway, thank you so much for joining with us today, and hi to all the audience at that end with Rebecca over there. So we'll be sharing a few points regarding the ongoing war between Israel and Hamas, and the new developments and the new world order that we are gonna expect in the coming months and years, and we'll also be giving a
Mhm.
chance to some of our audience so that they can join us with a call from my end. That's from India. They can make a normal call, and if there is anyone from your end they wish to join us and to ask you something, they can even join this. I'll provide you the link so that you can paste there and they can come in and they can talk to you as well, or they can even ask something about all these things to me. Okay, so this is the plan. So we have 1 or 2 hours. So shall we move ahead?
Yes, 1 second. Is my volume
Yeah,
better now?
yeah, things are okay at my end. How about
Yeah, it's just that people
okay?
are complaining that the sound was
Okay,
low, but I upped it a bit.
okay,
So
yeah. So how is it now? Things are better,
people are
maybe.
saying, is it still
Mm-hmm.
low? Let me.
Okay, it's my voice that was low, so I think it was okay with you while we were talking, but
No,
now
they're saying they cannot hear me.
too loud now. Too loud now. Okay.
Wait one
Anyway,
sec.
we'll just start talking. Then people will get an idea. So, how's things at your end after? I think we met almost 6 or 7 months ago, after the war began, and after that we have seen a lot of things, a lot of changes. So we had a few points we discussed. Okay, what's wrong here?
They
Okay,
say they
now
cannot hear
this will
me,
be
that I'm muted. I hear
okay.
myself twice though. It's weird.
Okay, things are fine.
Are we good?
Yes.
Uh,
Are you okay at your end?
1 second. Let me see that they can hear. They are
Okay.
saying they
We'll
cannot hear me.
yeah, we'll play some music in between so that they can.
Oh, okay. Wait. Is it better now?
Yeah, things are fine here.
Okay. I just turned on another mic.
Okay. So, shall we?
Yes. I
Okay.
think so. Is there volume now? Better now. People are saying better. Better. Better.
Yeah, we can hear both of you. Thank you so much, Suraj, for that update. Yeah, we have this. We can hear both of you.
Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So it's finalized. So
Okay.
I was about to ask you about the whole days and months that have passed after, or we had a discussion almost 7 months ago, 7 or 6 months ago. So what's the situation there? How badly that you are affected, and did you get a chance to talk to any of the hostages family or someone like that? So
I
please share with us.
yeah. Well, I don't know. Maya Shem, she got pretty famous for getting interviewed.
Who?
Maya Shem,
Okay.
Mia Shem, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was released. She was she
Okay.
her brother is one of the best friends of my sister.
Mm-hmm.
So their family is she knows everything about.
Okay.
what's happening there.
Mm.
I also got to meet people who weren't hostages, but they were attacked by Hamas
Okay.
on different levels. Some that live in the Gaza envelope. By the way, a lot of them don't want to talk about it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I many of them they're like we got like it's tiring, you know.
Mm. Okay. So, did you get a chance to talk to that family?
Which one?
This person who is a friend of yours?
No. So my I hear it through my sister
Okay.
because I don't want to ask them direct. It's too much.
Mm.
Like if because she is the best friend of her brother, she gets to hear everything. But
Mm.
it's like it's recip- reciprocal. You know, if somebody comes to you and they want to unload, is
Mm.
different than coming and asking them. Um,
Okay. Okay. So, how many of the hostess have reached home until now?
I think
You.
many were released. I'm not sure to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Okay.
remember.
So, what's after the elimination of Yahya Sinwar and some of the other prominent leaders of that side, the terrorist side? What's the current kind of discussions or that are going on among yourself? Whether Netanyahu will be staying back as your prime minister?
I mean, the government is very stable right now. There
Mm-hmm.
are like things that like the coalition is sometimes threatening on this or that, but in reality, it's pretty stable. So I don't think elections are gonna happen anytime soon anyway.
Okay.
Like
So in
if
that,
there is a coalition, if the government is stable, you cannot have elections.
mm-hmm. In that
So
case,
are we gonna guess like who is gonna be the most popular
mm,
in 2 years? It's weird. It's like things change fast
okay.
in politics.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So in that case, in the beginning of this war, there was already a conspiracy theory or something like that, which was mentioning that this war was an insider job, and that was something that was planned by maybe Netanyahu himself to stay in power. So when you say this,
What?
it coincide
I don't
with
think that
this.
doesn't. No, I never heard this conspiracy
Oh,
theory. There are other conspiracy, but this one never.
you haven't. Okay. So that was in
Mm-mm.
circulation in this end. So that was
No,
one of
nobody
the.
thought it was something that was planned by Netanyahu.
Mhm. Okay.
There were other, like there were conspiracy theories, but it included other forces in Israel, not Netanyahu, not the government. It
Okay.
has more to do with some organizations and some IDF members and things like that.
Hmm.
The claim Netanyahu plan, it's just it doesn't work that way because every part it's a
Hmm.
democracy. Like you have your job as a
Okay.
if you're in the army, it's your
Hmm.
job to defend regardless, right? You
Hmm.
have to be prepared for any scenario.
Hmm.
The government cannot tell you anything. It's not their they cannot do that.
Okay.
It's not something they can do. Only the generals can do it, if anyone.
Okay. So
By the way, it's
last.
like can Modi do anything in India? Like I've been talking to many Indians, and I've been
Hmm.
asking about many things. And like, okay, why is Modi not changing? Like, there's like he's not he's not God. Like, how much can Modi do in India? He cannot. He can almost not doing much anything at all. And it's the
Hmm.
same here. Like, yeah, they can do things, but also not.
Hmm. I have a question here that is something related to um, the situation after elimination of Yahya Sinwar and the dwindling of their influence of the Hamas in that region. How do you perceive that change?
Uh, Good riddance. It's like maybe now they're gonna not have an excuse to
Mm.
It's
Okay.
like it's beginning of the end, the way it was.
Mm. Okay, that's what the exact word that was used by Netanyahu himself, beginning of the end. Okay.
Just,
So now we are seeing a lot of Hamas fighters surrendering to IDF, and they are coming in groups, and we are seeing such imageries in recent days. So how do you think, or where is it going in that manner?
nowhere. Like in what way? They're gonna need to
Are
be
they are the
re-educated.
are they completely wiped off? Is Palestine
You
is
know how
completely free
many?
from Hamas?
No, like you know what the Palestinian society is. Do you
Hmm.
know how it's built?
Okay.
What is Hamas? You know how weak, like like those are mafia society. They're just mafia upon mafia upon mafia.
Hmm.
I think there are 52 terrorist groups in outside of Gaza.
In that small place, 52 groups.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Okay.
Hamula. They don't have. It's there is no real government. It's just one mafia group that is the strongest, and they
Hmm.
cooperate with other mafia groups. But each group wants to take over,
Okay.
and during so many times during this war, there were a lot of times where like people were like, okay, the Hamulas are fighting again. Hamula is a family, by the way. It's like a like a clan,
Hmm.
and if you follow what the Gads are saying, they're like, okay, who is shooting now? Is it the army or is it the Hamula fight? What's going on? Like,
Okay. That's the
who is
question.
who? Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So what is so this question is like you don't understand that society, and everything is around honor, and because Islam is so effed up, it's like they want to show they compete with each other. There is
Hmm.
also a reason why it became so brutal there. Is like they compete with each other to show who is the most brutal,
Okay.
like who is the meanest, who is the he's the most deadly.
Hmm.
um where is it going? Nowhere. It's a lost society. Like they cannot, there's no one to talk to there.
Okay. So you mean to say that that society, that Gazan people or the Palestinians as a whole, they are not having enough good leaders over there, so that they get some goodness out
They
of.
don't have any good leaders. Any good
Okay.
leader that comes up, they hang.
Okay.
There is a famous talk, but I don't remember who it was. It's like it was a an Arab
Hmm.
Palestinian and an
Hmm.
Israeli. And there was this talk where the Israeli was like, if you become a citizen, proper citizen, like you're gonna get this and that, and you can advance your family, and you can just focus on your careers, and you can have good lives. And the other Palestinian was like, you are absolutely right. I'll be so happy to be an Israeli citizen, but you have to force me.
Okay.
It's not gonna happen unless you apply force. It's like,
Hmm.
you're absolutely correct. For the like the betterment of my future, everything you're saying is absolutely true, but you have to do it with force. Just
Oh.
that's the only way.
Okay. So when you say that there are no good leaders in that region, and there's no hope in that society, um, coming forward and looking for a solution and looking for peace treaties and other processes, and you are also we are also seeing elimination of the leadership, decapitation of the leaders over there. And lastly, we talked about, and there are some rumors that even the Khamenei in Iran is now down. I'm not sure whether that's confirmed or not. Even you might be able to give some light into that as well. So uh, when you take Yahya Sinwar particularly, he was with you for almost 20 years in your prison, and you haven't killed him on all those
You
years.
know why he was sitting in prison though?
Yeah, what was the reason?
For he was a mass murderer, but he only killed Palestinians. He killed,
Uh,
and I don't know if only, but he killed Palestinians. He was in
can
Israeli
you can
prison
you
for killing Palestinians.
so can you please give some elaboration over that? Why Yahya Sinwar was in your prison, and why he was
For
taken in, and
killing
why he was
Palestinians
exchanged?
because
Okay.
he was a murderer.
What was the reason for killing those Palestinians?
Whatever paranoia entered his mind. He was a psychopath. Do you think he needed an excuse? He did whatever he could to make sure he has somebody to torture. That's
Rebecca,
he.
we
There
need
are
elaboration.
okay. Do you want
as
to you know
as
who he was? You
Yeah,
know what he was?
for our audience, not for me.
When it comes from the Palestinian society, that there are rumors very are like he was raping children, he
Mm,
was raping men, he was
mm.
raping women.
Yahya
He
Sinwar.
Yahya Sinwar.
Okay.
He dug a hole for a gay man, and that was a high commander in Hamas, and tortured him for several months, slowly until he died.
Mm,
He did it. He at some point like because at some point it was like, why do we have gay people? He's like decided that people were ignoring it. It was like, no, I'm not gonna ignore it. He was butchering them. If there's somebody that he didn't like or something like that, he would invent a story about them. And it's not that he doesn't like them. Maybe this person wasn't. Here's the thing. This is how they work. They like choose those who are maybe not as smart, maybe not as beautiful, and then they torture them
mm-hmm.
randomly.
Okay.
So there are stories of him like using like cutting off
Oh.
a Palestinian's neck, like bit by bit with a razor.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know how do I explain it. It's like imagine the worst serial killer that finds an audience and a free hand to torture and kill as much as he wants. That's who Yahya Sinwar was.
Okay. So he was a mass murderer, the murderer of Khan Yunis.
He
That's how
was
it was. Butcher
if
of
he
Khan Yunis.
wasn't if he wasn't a Palestinian,
Mm-hmm.
because he's a Palestinian, the whole world gave him the permission to be the monster that he was. If he was in the United States, he would have been just a serial killer, just a regular, a
Okay.
serial killer.
So he's a glorified serial killer.
Yeah,
A psychopath.
oh, the worst
Okay.
kind, yes.
Oh.
Sadist,
So.
psychopath, and
Mm-hmm.
his number one targets were other Arabs.
Okay. So even then, by knowing even all these things, even the murders that he has done to innocent Palestinians just for being gay or some other things like that, even then the Gazans were supporting him. So why do you
Yeah,
think they were supporting him? Just
because
because
he
he's
was so
so
brutal.
aggressive, brutal.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
But that's what I said. They compete with each other about who is the worst all the
Mm-hmm.
time. Like that's how they get their glory. The
So
more
as
brutal you are, the more honor you get.
so as per your Israeli assessment, who is next after Sinwar to be more brutal than him?
I mean, there are rumors that there is his brother,
Mm-hmm.
I think Muhammad Sinwar,
Mohammed
but
Sinwar.
that think it's his name. Don't maybe I'm
And
wrong.
is there any
Uh,
one person in that region in your wildest imagination that who might be a good leader for the Gazan people, the
no,
Palestinians, and who could come forward as a good leader for them? Anyone?
no,
One?
no, no.
Not even one.
Mm-mm.
Okay. So is it exactly the problem that you're facing is that you can't even find a person to talk diplomatically to talk about peace? Is that the real problem that you're frustrated about?
What do you mean? The real problem that we are frustrated about is that we have a whole
Not
city
to
full
find a
of
good.
rapists and murderers.
Okay. No, no, I understand that, but I'm asking you about, despite all these things, you will be able
What
to,
do you
or
mean despite?
means all this
There
reality.
is a whole society that where there was a Yazidi woman
Mm.
that was
Recently,
rescued,
yeah.
right?
Mm.
Recently. She was raped by tens or hundreds of Gazans. It was
Oh,
everybody knew there is
oh,
a slave, 11-year-old that was taken, and
everyone
nobody
knew about that.
bothered. Everybody knew.
Okay.
Was there any police inside of Gaza to make sure that those who do that to a child would go to jail?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anyone to talk to say, hey, you have to enforce law? Was there anyone that a world organization could talk to and say, hey, we need to rescue this child, this Yazidi
Okay.
child that was held there? Nobody. And when
Mm-hmm.
what happened was is that the way she got rescued is because she managed to contact an Israeli um, news
Mm.
channel, and they started things going, and they had to verify who she is, and then the army went and fetched her.
Okay. Yeah, we read about that in the news.
Okay,
So,
so that's the society where you cannot even convince them to put slave owners in jail.
okay. So slavery was real in that region.
I mean, they have a whole neighborhood called the slaves neighborhood.
What's that? I didn't know that.
The black neighborhood in Gaza. It's called the
Black
slaves
neighborhood.
neighborhood. Hmm.
Black neighborhood. That's the name of the place, or?
No, they're black people. They were taken as slaves. The Arab slave trade.
Okay. Even today.
So even today, the neighborhood is called the slave neighborhood.
Okay. So they are still slaves, literal slaves.
I mean, I don't know if those are slaves anymore, but they are literal. Who do you think dug the tunnels? Slavery. They're
Mm-hmm.
slaves. Those who actually did the digging work are
Mm-hmm.
slaves inside of
Okay.
Gaza.
But we have read about children being used for digging this tunnels over there, and they were paid for that and all. So how come this
They
be
paid
going to be
with
like
a
that?
gun.
Okay. No other payment was due.
I mean, you have to feed them. You know how long a slave can last if you don't feed them? Not too long.
Okay.
And you need somebody to dig, so you at least have to feed them. Which, for a
Mm-hmm.
lot of Gazans, that's enough. Like, because of the way the society is structured, even getting food would get you shot. Like, this is what why is Hamas still in control? Because they still get all the food supplies. They still manage it, and every Palestinian who
Mm.
tries to ask for food, there are plenty of videos of them torturing, shooting, murdering like random civilians who just come and ask them for food.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, so as you have mentioned, this society, the Gazan people or the Palestine, are you mentioning about the whole of Palestinians or just Gazans?
All of them.
All of them, Palestinians in total.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is something
No, but it's
shocking.
it's a little bit less in the West Bank because their main mafia is pretty effective because they were like, you know what, we cannot do it, and they gave the keys to the IDF. So the
Oh,
IDF is being pretty effective,
oh,
working
oh.
for the main mafia in the West Bank, but it's the same.
Okay. So the main mafia in West Bank is in ties with IDF. Are you
Is
saying
the
that way?
Palestinian Authority.
Okay.
They're also a
Palestine.
mafia.
Okay. So they
They
are in
work
good
like a
relation with IDF.
mafia. I mean, they gave up. They gave
Okay.
up on trying to enforce their mafia on the Palestinian people, so they just gave the IDF the keys and like, have fun.
Okay. So that's why you can see a lot of IDF people roaming around in the West Bank, and they are seen everywhere. Is that the reason they are not in
Yeah,
fighting mode always?
yeah. It's like technically it's the Palestinians that ask the IDF to come and do that.
Stay there.
Yeah, to be
Okay.
responsible for the security. Like they say like we cannot do it.
In fact, the West Bank officials, the main mafia, they have outsourced their security to IDF. Is it that way?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So isn't that the same way that was existing in Gaza before October 7th? Or Was it
No,
different from West Bank?
no, it was different because the IDF did not enter Gaza. They were like this. There was this stupid project called
Mm.
the Itnaktkot, and Gaza was. They could have declared their own country there, in theory. It's not
Gaza
that they
as a
bothered
country.
because Gaza. By the way, the
Gaza as a
Gazans
country.
like see themselves as Gazans. They don't call themselves. A lot of them don't call themselves Palestinians. They say we are
Oh,
Gazans.
okay,
And
okay.
like there are videos now that some Gazans, for example, are trying to uh,
Mm.
convince Israelis that they are not all evil. So they're like one in a million. But
Mm.
when they talk, there's like, yeah, hi, for hello to the land of Israel. We're talking from you from the Gaza state. They call it Gaza state, Gaza
Okay,
country.
okay. So,
Um,
do you see a possibility of a two-state solution or a three-state solution, or how many states?
no state.
No
Like there
state.
can't, and it's funny
Mm.
because I'll tell you what there was. Wait, I'm gonna do something. So
Mm.
people are saying there is an echo. Is it? Are people complaining on echo on your side as
For
well?
me, it's fine, and on my side, it is fine. Maybe from that side, the stream from your side,
Yeah.
maybe seeing some echo.
All right. Yeah, I can hear an echo.
Okay.
It's the
Are the
same way like when we talked before, just us. It's again.
here it is fine at my end.
Yeah, but
Please check that
like
other side.
now I hear myself twice, but you're like, okay,
Yeah, here it is fine.
I don't understand. People are saying there is echo, no echo. Okay, I
No
hear
echo,
an
no
echo,
echo.
but
Yeah, that's okay.
okay,
Okay.
fine. Or it's okay. So the interesting. I think yesterday or today, there was actually a study
Mm.
that was made by three different researchers, and I think some of them or all of them, I don't remember exactly who they are. At least one of them for sure was an Arab. They were all, or I think I think they're originally Palestinians, but they're in the West, and they made they wrote the papers on the possibility of there being a Palestinian state, and they also it impossible, and they
Mm.
all were crying, complaining about like different powers, like some like blaming Iran, some blaming Israel, everybody blaming the British Empire for why there cannot be a Palestinian state, and they listed the reason. They said like there is no Palestinian. Yes, the Palestinian identity, even though it's artificial, by now there is a generation, two generations that grew up like with this indoctrination that there is a Palestinian identity. So in theory, that's an identity they can rile, like
Okay.
like this is the flag they can use. But the reality on the ground is that there is it's not cohesive. There is the Hebron. It's in the West Bank. It goes by city. Different
Hmm.
cities have different leaderships. They do not work with each other. Inside of Gaza, you have 52 terrorist organizations, if I'm not mistaken. Like every Hamula, there is
One,
no
one, one or
and
two
how
less
do
we can
you
forgive.
and apparently the way that you create a state is that everybody agree. When you have a population that agrees to give up the violence, like give the authorities are the only ones that are allowed to apply violence, like the police, the army, and things like that.
Mm.
Um, but the thing is, like, there is no such thing in the Palestinian society.
Mm.
Nobody is given. There is no authority. There is no leadership. There is no one cohesive organization that is everybody is trusting to be the ones that will do the policing. So every family does the policing of their own
Okay.
clan, right?
Hmm. So,
So So those people who wrote about it, they didn't, it's not that, they're like, even if Israel disappears, there is not going to be a Palestinian state, because technically it has nothing to do, it's just that you have to have a certain structure of society to have a state, and there is no way in the near future, and they couldn't, no matter how much they tried. And even when Yasser Arafat came to power and he was the strongest leader they ever had, even he failed in that mission. And he had enough time, and even he didn't manage to do it.
Okay.
So there is no possible way for them to have that structure. At least those researchers claim that, and those are not researchers who come from, like, they were crying in the paper, like they're writing and you can see the tears when they reach
Okay.
the conclusion of there can't be a Palestinian state, because there is not, like, doesn't, like, you, there's one requirement, and they just don't, they cannot have it, they cannot do it.
When we talk about this, right now we were seeing some news that is about closing down the UNRWA, that is the UN body that was operational
Yeah.
in Gaza and other regions. So could you please get some light into that? What is happening with UNRWA?
UNRWA or Hamas,
Okay.
it's the same. They're
How
just
much
a
they are
front.
involved in this? To what
100%.
extent? 100%.
100%, everything. UNRWA teachers are the ones that they bring animals to torture. They teach children how to kill. Um, everything.
Okay. Teachers are killers.
Yeah, because listen, like, I don't know, like, why is it such a taboo to talk to Gazans? If you talk to them, they will tell you those things.
Do you
I
know
I don't,
any Gazans with
but
whom we
here's the
can
thing
have a
that
discussion?
drives me, that shows how deranged the Palestine, like, the media is and the West is. They don't even try.
In fact, ever since we had a discussion, I was always trying to find a Gazan to talk, and even I got in touch with one person, and she was not able to come forward and speak about all these things because she was having some kind of a higher position which forbade her from doing that. So that's
But
one
did she
reason. And
tell you anything, like,
yeah,
anonymously?
yeah.
What did she
So
tell you?
no, no, she didn't tell me anything about it because she total non-disclosure. That's what she was telling. So I was always wondering. It's not just about any random Palestinian or any random Gazan. Not even you will be able to find an official from that side giving out proper comments over that or getting into a discussion, just like how the officials in Israel is giving away all the information and engaging in debates and engaging in media conferences. So we are not seeing this from the other side. They are just doing all these works from Telegram group, dissipating some kind of information over that channels, social media and
But you
other.
have a lot of videos of, like, those leaders talking about how they want their population to die, and how they're using it as, how they're using them as
That was in
human
the beginning.
shields.
That was in the beginning and
I mean,
just
they're
before
dead
the war.
now. That's the only
That's a
reason.
point. That's a point.
Yeah, like, who do you want to speak? Like,
Okay, so there are no one else left to have a word with.
yeah, but when they could, they spoke. Like, when they could, they said everything. They told the truth about their, like,
Okay,
how happy they are with using
so
Palestinians as human shield. Like, they
so
were very honest about it. Like, no shame at all there.
by listening to all these, in fact, our tensions are rising. Like uh, where this is leading to, like there's no hope for a two-state or a three-state, or there's no hope for a good leader over there. So how is this going to affect the civilians in that side, that is Gazans and the Palestinians as a whole? How would they be affected with this?
It's an interesting question, because I'll tell you what, the thing is, like, why Europe is so obsessed with the Palestinians and shit. There is something bigger that the world is trying to cover up.
What is that?
Is that Egypt and Jordan are heading towards collapse.
Oh, why?
Egypt has 120 million people.
Mm-hmm.
120 million people will potentially try to flood Europe from Egypt
Flood Europe. Okay. For what? In
bec-
in in what way?
and to have to go to somewhere they can eat.
Okay.
When I say that they're about to collapse, that I mean that there is a real threat that in several years they're gonna go to a state where there is starvation and there is no water.
Mm-hmm. What is the exact reason for
And
this collapse that is being anticipated?
the most basic reason is because this retired population
Mm-hmm.
got access to the facilities and the medicine of the West, but they
Mm-hmm.
stayed retarded. So they give birth without thinking. And last time I checked, they live in a desert.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know how to work. They're not productive. They don't know how to generate. They don't have any resources, and they are completely mismanaged. And they are, for the most part, they have a very ineffective governance system in their minds, which is Islam. The thing with that, the thing is that until the British Empire came to Egypt in the late 19th century, uh, because they were so backwards, they were just, you give birth to 10 kids and one survives. They were
Mm-hmm.
collapsing that manner. They, the West, they saw it and they were like, that's catastrophic. They started artificially keeping them alive.
Mm-hmm.
And that population grew. It in the 1960s there were about 25 million people in
Okay.
Egypt. Now there are 120 million. This is a
Okay.
desert. It's a desert
120 million. Okay.
from 1960, from 25 million to 120 million.
Mm. Oh.
When the biggest threat when the Russians invaded Ukraine was that Egypt is so dependent on the grain that comes to Ukraine that they, if the West didn't, if the Europe didn't interfere and didn't secure food for Egypt, Egypt could have collapsed already and
Mm-hmm.
came, and they all would have run to somewhere that has more rain.
Mm. Okay. Interesting.
And the thing is that here's what those societies, both Jordan, which is smaller to be honest, but it includes Iraq
Mm.
and Egypt, if they get any like they're so fragile, the Palestinian thing can be the last straw that makes them finally collapse. When they
Okay.
collapse, that is going to be a catastrophe on a worldwide scale. But it's a matter of time because they're heading that way anyway.
Okay. So, do you expect a second Black September, something that happened in the past in Jordan, something that could repeat itself?
Jordan, the fear is whether Egypt will manage
Okay. And
to
what about
control.
Jordan?
Jordan is smaller,
Okay.
so if Israel can do that. You can have foreign powers do that. So
Okay. Israel can support Jordan.
yeah,
Okay. So, so the Middle East, if it has to survive, Israel is a very important player. That's what
yeah.
history is about to learn.
It's a critical player. And by the way, this is the reason why the West aligned itself with Israel. In the beginning, the West wanted Israel to get annihilated,
Mm.
and the reason Israel survived was because of the USSR.
Mm.
The British, they wanted the Jews to get annihilated, and they had prepared the ground for the Arabs to kill the Jews, and they'll be like, oh,
Mm.
oops, we don't know how it happened. But in reality, they prepared the ground for it to happen. They knew
Okay.
what they were doing. They were not Jews. Even after the establishment of Israel, uh, Jews that were detained in British camps were not released. Those are
Mm.
Holocaust survivors. Those were not criminals, but
Mm.
the Brits still held them in those camps because they didn't want them to. Didn't want these thousands of tens of thousands of Jews which they were keeping in camps. They didn't want them to go and join the Israeli army, which would give Israel a chance to win. They didn't
Okay.
want that, so they keep detaining them. And
Mm.
what happened is that in the Suez Canal crisis and what happened later,
Mm.
and the France cooperation with Israel because of all kind of difference, the West learned very fast that Israel was actually the only thing that keeping the Middle East stable.
Okay.
But they used Israel in a way that they do whatever they can to hide the fact that the Middle East is so dangerous for the future of Europe, and it has been for a really long time. But they didn't. But it's like you know what I made this video when I came to intelligence. I looked at that data. I realized how things are built. I was like, maybe they just, I was like, I was young, and I thought, you know what? If people knew the truth, they would be panicking all the time. And maybe for a country to be manageable, it makes sense for the governance and the leadership to try to handle the situation behind the scenes without their population ever knowing that they are in real grave danger, that Europe was in. The Suez Canal crisis was so significant because the behind the scenes, the governments of Europe were saying, if that crisis continues for a year or two, we're gonna collapse.
Mm.
Like the Brits, like they knew that. This is also something that made the Europe very angry with the United States, where when they sided with the Egyptians and they said like, if it weren't for Israel that stabilized the thing, they were 2 years away from having such a deep crisis in Europe that they were in panic that they didn't know if they would manage to relapse from that. And all those things that the public doesn't know
Mm.
and didn't know. And there was this narrative that was built about these aggressive imperial powers that are called France and Britain that tried to take over the Suez Canal and they attacked Egypt. And that was a narrative that was destructive because the reality is that Europe doesn't have any natural resources.
Mm.
Without the Suez Canal, in a year or two, the Europeans knew that they're gonna collapse. Like
Okay.
the society is gonna collapse if the canal is not opened.
Mm-hmm.
And Nasser was a Hitler.
Mm.
He used chemical weapons on people in Yemen. He
Mm.
was an awful human being, Hitler style. He
Mm.
wanted Europe to collapse. He wanted
Mm.
Europe people there to
Okay.
die.
Mm-hmm.
Israel was there, and it was also the only country that did not, when America pressured. Listen, after all, Europe attacked the United States. The United States didn't trust Europe that much. Like it's not like it is in their interest for of the United States for Europe to collapse.
Mm.
Europe is the only threat, the potential threat that the United States has in
Mm.
reality, because the Japan is too far away and Russia is the other way. But then the geography is more difficult. So it's only
Okay.
Europe that is a real danger. And Europe, especially if they cooperate with South America. So I think back then it wasn't that much after World War II. They still had that mindset, right? It's not
Mm.
that it was like the US was like, okay, we have to protect our allies. Or like to them, it's like okay, Europe is like, and before that they were fighting the Brits, right? Who were they? Who was their first enemy? The British Empire. So maybe that was their psychology. So anyway, they pressured France and Britain with economic sanctions, and they backed off, but Israel didn't. And because Israel didn't back off, even though the United States tried to pressure everybody that was involved with releasing the pressure on the Suez Canal, this is when Israel became such a force. But because this area is so sensitive, and because, to be honest, like as we saw, the French and the Brits are very pathetic in their mindsets. They're very weak leadership. They
Okay.
created all kind of narratives to try to hide the fact. But the thing is that now it's not even 25 million Egyptians. Now it's 120 million Egyptians on land that cannot sustain them.
Okay. So, talking
So they're
about
trying
the
to,
yeah,
yeah. So they want everything to be like, yeah, it's all Israel, because if the world figures out it's not Israel, then now what?
yeah, yeah.
It's like it's gonna. But the thing is, like, you cannot stop reality from happening, and this is
Okay.
what I've realized. It would have been better for the governments to tell the truth to their publics and let them experience the panic that was very much uh, true to have. It was the right call. Then lie to them, and now they are in a spot where Europe is collapsing. Now they're also economically collapsing, and they have no natural resources. So the moment, and if they cannot produce this extreme advanced technology, they're irrelevant when it comes to the world, geopolitically speaking.
Okay. So, let me ask you something. I'm here. My camera is stuck, battery exhausted, so nothing to worry about that. I'll be here in the side. So, we have 10 or 15 more minutes before we go to our audience. If they can join and ask you some questions, things will be much more interesting because they are having a lot of questions and they are posting it in the comment section. So I prefer them joining and via call, and so that they can talk to you directly. So I'll take the call from my end. So just before that, I just want to know, in the beginning, when the war began on October 7th, after October 7th, Israel was in a position where it was trying to defend every move that they make to ensure the safety of its own people and to eliminate the terrorists who committed the horror or the terrorist act on October 7th. So they were trying to balance between what they were doing and the counter arguments against them. So two things come up here. One is about the number of people who died in Palestine region or the Gazan region, and they always come up with some numbers like 40,000 got killed or maybe even more got killed. How do you justify this and all? So my question is, uh, in viewing all these things, how do you see the change in perception of how Israel got into this war? Do you see a positive change, or do you think that Israel has gone down as a country in front of the international community?
No.
Okay.
Can you please repeat the question? Do you think anyone
I'm,
really cares about Palestinian deaths? Like, really?
I just wanted to hear it from your end, how it is. Because being a Jewish state citizen, things will be different from your end. That's what we are expecting, or that's what people always expect. So that's why I asked.
All right. Okay. Can you ask? Because I'm kind of confused by the structure of the question. Can you ask
The
again
question
and
is
maybe I
this.
can
The question
restructure
is
it?
this. Yeah, the question is this: what is the change of image of Israel as a country from the beginning of the war and now? Is it
Yeah.
improving or is
So
it
yes,
bad?
yes, no, it's extremely better.
Okay.
It's like Israel is regaining its prestige.
Mm-hmm. And you can
This,
feel that as a citizen of that country.
yes, no
Okay.
doubt. Yeah.
And how about the extreme left over there, extreme right over there, and the secularists over there? How do they they side with this? Are they
Well,
hopeful, just like you are?
extreme leftists, like, are
Yeah,
they
the leftists.
hopeful?
Yeah.
No, they're
Are they happy
crazy.
with
That's why
what?
they're leftists.
So,
What do you
so
mean? This is like an attention-seeking kind of mental illness. What are you? Does it
okay,
matter?
so
They just say things to get attention. They don't really have like.
okay, and they are minority, right?
I mean, I don't know how much mental illness, how much we have of it. It's on individual level.
Okay, okay. So
I
anyway,
because if you talk about like normal left, like those who are like more social leaning, those who believe in more like that they the decision that UNRWA is banned from Israel was passed by the vast majority of the government. I think it was 1992 votes out of 120. So
okay.
there, for the vast majority, like it's funny when because you ask like the far left. Like I mean, I think about those crazy Twitter people, but like they're,
So it is
I mean, they're
almost irrelevant, considering the
yeah,
majority that Netanyahu is
yeah.
getting.
It's not Netanyahu. There are things that need to be done, and it's everybody agrees on that.
Okay, but he is representing Israel right now as a spokesperson in front of the whole community, international community.
Yeah,
So in that way, he is getting the support.
I mean, like that's a weird way to. The thing that's getting the support is Israel, and
Okay.
Netanyahu is the is we need this government to be stable. Like I don't know, there is no opposition really. Like the opposition is just stupid. Like it depends. You have Yair
Okay.
Golan, which is like a militaristic, a more or like
Authoritarian.
authoritarian, yeah,
Yeah.
which is left, but it's like a classical left. And when Israel does, like when Israel did the attack on Iran and stuff, like he wrote that he supports it. The other big party that you have is Gantz in the, I think he's, I don't remember. Anyway, but like Yair Lapid. Yair Lapid is a shoe. Is really stupid, and he's famous for being very stupid. The only
Okay.
thing about him is that he has a very anti-religious religion stance, so people vote for that to have like something that opposes like the religious elements in the
Okay.
government and in Israel in general. But he's so stupid, it's incredible. It's like so nobody can take him really seriously. He has one job and one job only, which is to
Okay.
shout every time that religious people are trying to make excuses that have nothing to do with Judaism to why they don't want to do something.
Okay.
But
So,
unfortunately, he's not being too smart about it either. So
okay. So now the million-dollar question that is about the country Iran, the country which was behind all these proxy wars and who was serving the Houthis, the Hezbollah, the Hamas, and all other people against Israel and doing all those nasty things, which was literally they were spewing hate and other things in that region, destabilizing the Middle East. They have played a pretty bad role over there. So you mentioned about the collapse of, or the imminent collapse of Egypt and Jordan. So what do you think about Iran? Will they stay strong as a last man, or how that country is going to be in the history?
no, they're a bit different.
Okay.
Um, there is an actual history to the country that's called Iran.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't it wasn't completely Arabized. It
Mm.
was somewhat Arabized, but not completely Arabized.
Mm.
Um, they have the resources they need. They just need like the only thing they need is to have a normal government.
Mm. Okay.
It's not the same. Like I mean, because when I say like Egypt or Jordan collapse, I mean those are countries that they need others to feed them.
Okay. For Iran, that's not required.
For Iran doesn't have it completely different. They first
Okay.
of all they have a national story,
Mm.
and that makes them a more cohesive kind of
Mm.
like it's like I don't know. Do you know Georgia? There is like a thing now that they have like the uh, election fraud and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, I so my father's side like we're lived in Georgia as
Okay.
well, and I was like talking to him. I was like, I don't get the Georgians. Like, are they retarded? And it's
Mm.
like Georgia doesn't have any interesting natural resources. Like it has a lot of good fertile land, so basically they can be farmers.
Okay.
And they're
But
like
they.
they think they can go against Russia and try to join Europe. But realistically speaking, Europe wouldn't like such a pretend, right? So
Mm.
Europe might use them to try to have a blockage against Russia, but
Mm.
they're gonna Europe. The only reason for them to even talk to Georgia is to have like people they can throw
Yeah.
for to stop the Russians and slow them down, and that's
Okay.
it. Like, and the people are like they have nothing to offer Europe, and they're
Mm-hmm.
stupid enough to believe this narrative because it's very comfortable for Europe to have more nations that would distract Russia,
Mm.
but it's but even in the best case scenario, let's say that Europe accepts them and Russia doesn't take that as an offense,
Mm.
then the Georgians would the first thing they would do is to leave Georgia, right? Nobody is there isn't such strong patriotism there that they're gonna build an army, go
Mm.
fight for their independence, build a strong nation, and that's a country that actually has a real history and
Okay.
their own language, and they are the only ones who speak Georgian, for example, which is not true for any country that speaks Arabic. They are holding a culture that is not theirs. So it's
Mm.
not special. It's not like, okay, why are we different? Like, if we want Arabic to stay alive, and that is the main goal, and then let the Jordanians do it. Like, why
Mm.
us? Like why? And every country can say to another country. Oh, like to be honest, Saudi Arabia, which is like
Mm.
the only ones that are actually obligated to keep that
Okay.
kind of stream alive. But even Georgia, right? Like, what would happen is like if miraculously they get accepted to have a visa-free travel to Europe or something, the country will just go empty.
Mm.
They're gonna all run away from Georgia and go to Europe, and that's just 5 million people.
Mm.
I was like, why?
Okay.
What would keep the Egyptians in Egypt? Like, why?
Mm. But when it comes to Iran, the people are so good, as you said. They are having a different history and sorry, a
Yeah.
cultural identity, and they are more tied to the country and all. And at the same time, when it comes to the ruling power in Iran, they are always trying to project Islam as a weapon. Islam, that's what they are using, and even that's being used in this scenario as well. That is to direct the Houthis and the Hezbollah against Israel along with Hamas. So when we compare all this, and when we see the recent attacks where they were able to send in almost 200 plus ballistic missiles into Israel, and we have seen a lot of damages that it caused in Israel. Thanks that nobody was injured or got killed except some Palestinians over there. So that was the precision that they were having. So by seeing all this, that's why I was asking this, whether you see a future in the war kind of their whether they will be able to come forward as a warring country, or will they be able to keep this force, the attacking force?
Okay, so when I answered, I meant that like because there is a real thing that is called Iran, there the prospect of them staying a nation is higher, even if there is gonna be a regime change.
Mm,
But maybe not. I don't know. But I feel like yes, because the lot of
mm, okay.
anyway. Um, they're also heading towards like unbearable situation for themselves, but
Mm,
it's Islam. Since when Islam makes sense? Like
mm,
that's a weird question to ask. Like
mm,
in reality, the Middle East almost empty until the West came and started providing and feeding it and nurturing it.
mm,
Because if you are run out of nations to attack, you start attacking yourself and dying out.
mm. Okay. So we have listened to some of the reports which says that Israel was or is now facing a kind of financial crisis. So what's the situation in Israel? Are you facing such a dire situation of financial crisis due to this war?
I mean, I don't know if the financial crisis is the number one crisis. I think the biggest thing is the fact that
Mm,
you have a lot of people who are out of their homes,
mm, mm, mm.
and that's harder.
Okay.
Economically, Israel does have some leeway, a lot more
Okay.
than Iran,
Okay.
to be honest.
So there's nothing to worry about that.
Yeah, especially like
That's
after the war, Israel is like already counting the money because it used so many new technologies. And like
mm,
we having like clients already calling, like there were
okay.
people saying
For
like they're getting calls all night for people like, hey, how'd you do that? We wanna purchase those abilities, like for a lot of different sects in the
so
Israeli
it's like an
industries.
exhibition for you, the war
So
equipments.
people are like, the war is an exhibition of power. That's why it's like
Okay.
this is where does it, but like people are like, oh, after it ends, we're gonna get so rich. We have so much to sell now after we
Okay.
proved our company. But people are too. It's a mental strain, yeah, like to fight, right? This is the hard part. It's not. It
Mm-hmm.
might be like tighter now, but we can see the prospect. Like like in the end of the tunnel, we're gonna get rich. It's like
Okay.
being a student, you suffer
But
when you're a student.
but in
That's
fact you
that's the
found
phase.
some, yeah, but in fact you found something in the tunnel in for Hezbollah, the leader, some
Yeah,
good
now
cash and
we
gold.
don't even. Yeah, exactly, perfect. Like we're getting all
Yeah.
the ammunition, a lot of new
Yeah.
ammunition. It's
Okay.
like, oh, who needs the West now? Because we have a new supply.
Okay.
Yeah, great.
So now, just as a conclusion, I'm asking you this. As per your understanding, and for any other Jewish and a normal Jewish person or an Israeli, whether it be Jewish or any other person living in Israel, how this war is going to end? How do you see that end? Will there be
To be
peace
honest,
anytime soon?
I think,
Yeah. And how would it
is
look
there gonna
like?
be peace anytime soon? No, it's gonna be there's gonna be a lot of rebuilding.
Mm-hmm.
But to be
Mm.
honest, a lot of people start talking here. We want to win against Allah.
Okay.
We want to prove that God is with the Jews
Okay.
and for Islam to crumble.
But you are an atheist, right? That's what
Yeah.
I learned. Yeah.
Yeah,
But but on
there
a
is
lighter
one
note,
story
yeah.
from the Bible
Mm,
that when I was reading it when I was younger, I didn't understand. And I only
mm,
understood
mm,
when it came when you get to know some other cultures,
mm,
right? So there was one instance, Eliyahu,
Mm. Mm.
Elijah,
Mm-hmm.
I think is also in the Quran.
Yeah. Okay. What is the exact word?
He's the one, is the Eliyahu, is the one that went up to the sky with a
Okay.
carriage and fire, you know?
Uh-huh. Okay. No, no, I am not aware.
I think his name is a bit different.
Mm.
Wanna maybe I should search it to tell you
Okay.
what the name is in Arabic.
Are you mentioning about Burak?
Burak. Let me see.
Yeah. The mule with a wing?
No, I don't know.
No.
I want
Okay.
Al-Arabiya.
Mm.
Um,
Elijah, you're
I
saying?
don't know. Elijah. Yeah.
Yeah. Elijah. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Mm.
so there is one part
Mm.
where he goes and fights against the worshippers of Baal. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
different god. Which,
Oh.
to be honest, like, so the what the ancient Israelites did is that they used a lot of different god names to
Mm.
refer to the same god.
Mm.
And so I was like, why? What made it different, right? This fight that he had with those who represent the other god, which is, to be honest, like it's just the same god, and that's it. Like, why?
Mm.
And obviously, they were representing some ideology and some management style that was destructive for the Jewish nation, and this is
Okay.
what Aliyah was fighting against. But what
Mm.
they did, it was like they did a barbecue test, like a barbecue competition to check who has a better god. And I was
Mm.
like
Mm.
thinking these stories like is weird because the way
Okay.
Jews usually solve things is like they argue and they prove that their god or their way is more moral, and that's how
Mm.
they win. And suddenly you have this barbecue competition
Mm.
between prophets to,
Mm.
and the best barbecue wins, like, the barbecue, like,
Mm.
I'm joking when, like,
Yeah, yeah.
but
Go
this is
ahead.
basically the story. It's like, what is this stupid, like, can't they
Mm.
just like talk and have a debate?
Mm.
And I was like, what if you have and then I started realized like the way the Arabs or Gaz and some Muslims think. Like, you have a population, they don't understand logic.
Mm.
They don't get it.
Okay.
Like, you talk logic, they don't understand the reason, cause, like, cause and effect. Like,
Mm.
it's not in their ability. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is why he did it. He had to do a barbecue competition
Mm.
because the people around him became so stupid with this new ideology that morals, talking about morals, didn't work anymore,
Mm.
right? So they were like, okay, they had to show whose god is stronger. That's the
Mm.
only way to go around. So you asked me, why do I say it in atheist? I don't think a proper Jewish Israelite prophet
Mm.
would
Mm.
ever choose those stupid methods unless he had to deal with stupid people.
Mm.
So you asked me, like, why do I say it as an atheist? Because
So, just for fun, you can tell
that's the
such
only
stories.
way.
They will
Yeah,
understand.
I have to do a barbecue test. I have
Okay.
to play this barbecue competition because this is the only way to make
Mm-hmm.
the crowd understand.
Okay. So, so anyway, you are hopeful of a peace that is imminent in that region, and um, as you said, there's no hope for a two-state or a three-state. So, what would it look like when it gets a peace? Is it a single state, an Israel, where all the
Yeah.
Palestinians and West Bank people they living peacefully?
That's the thing, right?
So,
The question
are you,
of,
so are you saying or legitimizing the concept of greater Israel? Do you believe in that?
first of all, it depends because
Mm.
the biggest problem with the greatest Israel idea is
Mm.
the Jews. The
Mm-hmm.
Jews just don't like they just,
Mm.
how do I describe it?
Do
they
you
they
like
have this
a greater Israel?
mentality of leave us alone and
Mm.
not, hey, let's go somewhere and start teaching them how to behave. Like,
Okay.
no, like you,
Let me ask you.
for it to happen, you have to be like, okay, now we have to go and advocate and teach the Torah to other nations and
Mm.
explain that and have this PR
Mm.
system, which
Mm.
for the most part, Jews are like, oh, other people are just stupid. We don't feel like doing it. Like, that was the mood. And it's gonna be pretty hard to tell them,
Mm.
hey, you have no choice. And
Mm.
if the prophet Eliyahu that you respect so much had to do a stupid barbecue competition, then you
Mm.
have to do it too.
Okay. So, do you believe in that greater Israel, such a goal, or do you wish to have such a thing, greater
But
Israel?
I think, okay, so it's a weird. What is a greater Israel? I want to have neighbors where I can go purchase
Mm.
land in their territory just like I can purchase land in Italy. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
If there is even inside of Israel, we there is not such thing that we want everybody to speak Hebrew. This is our goal. Like Israelis don't feel like that or think like that.
Mm-hmm.
If a greater Israel, like the Arab, like the Arab thinking, the Muslim thinking cannot continue.
Okay. So
You
it's like
like what will
that image is
replace
being.
it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question. Is it like for the Jewish cause, like the Muslims want to make everybody Muslim
Mm.
and to believe in Muhammad, and the Christians want everybody to believe in Jesus. The
Mm.
Jews want everybody to have one moral system, like
Okay.
everybody to agree on some laws that are like universal and everybody have to live by.
Mm. Okay.
But so what is this greater Israel? Is it gonna be like changing the populations in believing the moral system of Judaism, but with their own national story, which is,
Mm.
by the way, what the United States and Britain did. They took the Jewish Jewish structure
Mm.
and they applied it on their own nations, and they have their own national stories.
Okay.
What is greater Israel? Do I want to be able to have business everywhere I want? Yes.
So, by listening to this, I get this. That is, this idea of greater Israel is something that is imposed, an image imposed upon the Jews, just like they see
Yeah.
themselves as a greater
It,
Arabic state or something like that. So, do you see
it's
that way?
just it's yeah, it's like the greater Israel. It's a good story, but it's like,
Mm.
first of all, convince the average Israeli to get out of the Tel Aviv area because everybody's fighting on the same square.
Mm. Okay. Now,
And then as
shall
I
we?
convince the Jews to try to even
Mm.
do more PR to other nations and be like,
Mm.
and I like, I was like, it's just you have
Okay.
to convince both sides, to be honest. And but the thing is that, do I think it might happen? I think it might happen because we might have no other choice.
Okay.
And it's gonna be the hardest thing is gonna be to convince the Jews that this is the right thing to do, and we have to take responsibility and to
Mm.
teach other nations how to be successful like the Jews are successful. And
So
this is
that.
something that is undeniable. There is a
Mm.
reason 20% of Nobel prizes go to Jews, and those numbers, this percentage only increased only
Mm.
in the 21st century.
So for you, that's not a
But
goal.
it's not that the Jews are that much smarter, like IQ
Mm.
wise. Like, but there is a structure to Judaism
Mm.
that works
Okay.
produces results. We
Mm-hmm.
can teach it to others in theory, right?
Okay.
But trying to convince the Jews to do that when most of the time they just want to read a book in the room without having others disturb us, that's the hard part.
Okay.
I think it
So for,
might be the moral thing to do, though. Yeah.
okay.
Does it
So
have
got
to
it.
be Hebrew that controls it? The heck we care.
Do you speak Hebrew?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just asked. Anyway, so shall we take some calls from the audience? Or
Yeah, let's do it.
yeah, so I'll be
It'll be
sitting like
fun.
this. My video is stuck. Pardon me for that. I was checking a new system, so that failed, but that's fine. You can see.
Just can I go? I'll be back in a minute. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure, sure, no problem.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right. Be right back.
yeah. സോ റബേക്ക വരുന്നവരെ നമ്മളിവിടെ കുറച്ച് നേരം ഇരിക്കാം. സോ നമ്മളെ ഞാനിവിടെ പടമായിട്ട് ഇരിക്കുകയാണ്, ഒന്നും വിചാരിക്കരുത്. അപ്പോൾ വിളിക്കാനുള്ള ആളുകൾക്ക് വിളിക്കാം, നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത് ചോദിക്കാം. നമുക്കൊരു അരമണിക്കൂറും കൂടി ഇവിടെ സ്പെൻഡ് ചെയ്യാമെന്നാണ് വിചാരിക്കുന്നത്. ഇന്നിപ്പോൾ ഒരു റേഡിയോ പ്രോഗ്രാം കേൾക്കുന്ന പോലെ നിങ്ങൾ കേൾക്കാം. അപ്പോൾ കേൾക്കൂ, കേട്ടുകൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കൂ. അതാണിപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് പറയാനുള്ളത്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പോൾ നിങ്ങളുടെ ചോദ്യങ്ങളിവിടെ ചിലതൊക്കെ വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ചിലത് നമ്മളിവിടെ ഓൺ ദ ഗോ ഇതുമായിട്ട് റിലേറ്റഡ് ആയതുകൊണ്ട് അപ്പോൾ തന്നെ ചോദിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഇനി അതല്ലാതെ ഏതെങ്കിലും ഉണ്ട് എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ ഇവിടെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാം. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്കത് നേരത്തെ വരാം. സോ ഗെറ്റിംഗ് എ കോൾ. ഹലോ. യെസ്, ആരാണ്?
ഇത് ആരിക്കിച്ചന്റെ പ്രോഗ്രാമാണോ?
യാ.
ആണോ? അല്ല, ഞാനത് ട്രൈ ചെയ്തത് ഇപ്പം പുള്ളിക്കാരായിട്ട് സംസാരിക്കാൻ പറ്റുമോ അറിയാൻ.
Yeah, you can talk, but she'll be back in a moment. Please hang on. Where are you calling from? What's your name?
Oh, okay. I'm calling from US.
US. Okay.
Yeah.
She'll be back in a moment. So, okay. So after listening to the live, what's your opinion? By the time she arrives, you can talk to her.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying because I was not sure whether this is a calling number or some other number has to be called.
The number is same. We use this number for this purpose. Okay. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's fine. Do you have to wait on the call or I will call back?
Yeah,
later?
she's here. You can talk to her.
What's up?
Yeah, what's your name?
Hi there.
Hello.
Can you?
Yeah, Rebecca, I was just checking. I was about to ask. First thing, I was just thinking whether it will be connecting the call or not. So I'm not that much prepared for a question.
That's fine. You can talk to her. Rebecca, you are audible?
Am I?
Is he audible to you? Is he audible to you?
Yeah. It's just a bit
Yeah.
a bit low. The volume is.
Okay, so please talk louder.
Yeah. So.
Please go on.
Yeah, I'm not able to hear Rebecca. Can you hear me?
You
Yeah.
can't hear Rebecca?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Oh.
Yeah, now I can.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah. So my question is, like, while you are discussing that two-state is not a possible, is that because the Islam thinks that all the Jews should be killed or something like that, or it's because of the political reason where there cannot be any good leaders coming from the other side?
It's because the requirement of a state is to have a police force that is unified, and that is the most basic thing that defines a state, and the Palestinians cannot have that structure because of the way their society is built.
Because, okay, I think that all these fights are only because of the religious thought behind this from Islam?
No. I mean,
because
it's everything.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I mean, you can say it's just the way the structure of society is, like religion, no religion, it just takes a lot of work to build a civilization, and they had a society, yeah, and they didn't do that work.
Oh, okay. So maybe the people who are more civilized, even though there are some religious reasons, we can move all those stupid religious reasons and they can live together in one country, like how Muslims are living in Israel. Do you think like that?
Yeah, but Israel is controlling them. They gave the power to
Oh,
Israel.
okay. Okay. So, okay.
It's
Yeah.
not it's
Like
not the
this.
same. If
Uh,
they're gonna have a leader that is civilized, they're gonna hang him. They're not gonna give him any power.
uh-huh. Oh, okay. Okay. So maybe then if they have some power or something, maybe this religious reasons will come up and it will also hurt the country
Again?
as Israel, to Israel. Oh, okay. So probably there may be a religious reason which is going to trouble all along the whole world, I guess, right? Or as long as the Israel exists.
You know that until the 18th century, there was no such thing as
Mm-hmm.
a nation state except for Israel, except for the Jewish nation state. That it was something
Mm-hmm.
that the nationalism, the only example of
Mm-hmm.
nationalism before that is ancient is Israel, is the Jews. The Jews actually had a nationalism as we know it now. The Greeks, the Romans, they weren't loyal to the country. Like the Greeks, if the Persian Empire, when it came and tried to conquer, the Greeks that got a better offer from the Persian Empire, they switched sides. There wasn't such a thing. Nation building
Mm-hmm.
is something that is so new. It took centuries,
Mm-hmm.
millennia for the West to do that. And the reason they managed to do it is because they had the Bible, the Jewish Bible, which is the first nation state known in history, at least. And they just followed that structure. And even so, it took them centuries until they managed to actually have it strong enough to become a real nation state.
Mm-hmm. So you mean to say that the older Europe and maybe the European countries are built and up to this now because of the rules they are following, maybe from the Torah or from the Bible, and then
Yeah,
you are not accepting for the atheistic mode of the mode of what do you say, the law of the land or the democracy, all those things. It all evolved from the religious rules from the Bible and the Torah.
no, there's nation building and there is governance. It's not the same. The governance
Okay.
in Israel and Judaism is it depends on the era. Every time they tried something else, but there is something that's called nation building. There is peoplehood, national story, land, which Israel had
Okay.
always had because it has this story. This is the borders that were given to you. Do not pass those borders because other parts of earth were given to other nations. This is something that the Torah has. And the thing is that, and the Jews were loyal to this Jewish state. This is why the Romans had so much trouble with
Mm-hmm.
the Jews. And because they were like, and
Mm-hmm.
everywhere else they went, they were like, okay, if the Romans give better offer, okay, we are Roman now. Like, the heck we care. The Jews weren't like that. We're like, they have no, we have our national identity. We have our, like, there is this national state, nation state, like the way it is in modern senses. But
Okay.
the way you build a nation state, this is something that is written in the Bible. And when Britain was building a nation state, and when the United States were building their nation states, they followed the Bible. They looked at the Bible and they applied the lessons from the Bible to build their own countries. And even though it took
Mm-hmm.
centuries for those
Okay.
concepts to solidify.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got it. So as you told, like the Jews have that feeling of unity for their land. That's what makes this separate compared to the other people or other religious people. You mean
Exactly.
like
So
yeah,
for
like
people
how
who are,
Indians feel like. Uh, Go
yeah.
ahead.
So it's funny because I actually was very curious. I tried to understand if Hinduism was originally nationalist. nationalist. So I asked ChatGPT and I was like, I asked about Judaism, and then I said, don't bullshit me. I'm a Jew. I know Judaism is nationalism. And then it was like, okay, now answer about Hinduism. And she was like, yes, you're right. Judaism is nationalism, but I swear to God, like, I'm rephrasing, like Hinduism was not. It is now with the Hindutva, but
No,
it wasn't originally the way Judaism was. Judaism from the
yeah,
get-go was
yeah,
nationalism.
that's a fake. Yeah, so that's a fake thing that Hinduism is not Hindutva. Like as an Indian or a Hindustani, we feel that unity of the land. You know how the Judaic people think about their land. We think, regardless of what religion we are, we think about our land first and then the religion. I'm a
Yeah.
Christian,
So
but
this
still
is
I
something, but
believe
this
in
is something
this
that came
ideology.
from India meeting the West, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right, this
Okay.
Hindu, this
Okay.
national
Right.
identity. So
Uh-huh.
it started
Yeah.
with Judaism, with Jews being the first nation state. From Judaism, other nation
Mm-hmm.
states like Britain and France, and like they started building themselves. And via
Mm-hmm.
colonialism, they brought the same concept to other areas in the world until we had World War II,
Mm-hmm.
which really, after World War II, it was like an international a project to build nations. Because before World War II, there were, even Europe, it wasn't like you didn't have all those mini states, all those small countries. You had the Austro-German Empire. You have, or World War One. Like you have the Hungary, Austro-Hungarian Empire. You had the Russian Empire. You have the Prussian Empire. You had, France, and like it was all. And the reason that Britain is separate is because it's an island. Because the reason France is separate is because of the geography. Things like that. So,
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
after that, it was decided that this biblical model, this Jewish model, is going to be applied everywhere around the world, and it was done from the outside. So suddenly, and by the way, this is
Okay.
what the Americans did in Ukraine. Ukraine didn't have a strong national identity. The Americans, when they decided they want to farther apart Ukraine from Russia, they also started, like, they worked hard they lobbied Ukraine to do things like banning the Russian language and like focusing on Ukrainian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's all I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I was listening to your conversation and I think you had raised a lot of good questions. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Bye bye. Yeah.
Yeah, bye. Okay, so
By
it
the
was
way,
fun.
feel free to fix me about India, right?
Yeah.
It's like,
But I'm taking this, I'm giving this message to the people that this is a golden opportunity for you to ask anything about Israel and the Jews and whatever things that comes to your mind, because you have a Jewish citizen sitting here, an Israeli citizen sitting here in front of you to talk to you. So no need of carrying away with any of your conspiracy theories or any other things. You can just straight away ask to her. So welcome, Preeti.
Oh,
Yeah.
hi, Rupika. It's a pleasure to talk to you. Am I audible?
yes, hey.
Hi. So I was listening to your conversation with Arif, and according to you, a single state solution is one of the best solution that we can look forward to.
I
So,
mean,
considering that UNRWA has failed in terms of de-radicalizing uh, Gaza and maybe the current generation, the
no,
younger generation.
I think you phrased it wrong. I think that what you wanted to say, that UNRWA was extremely successful in radicalizing Gaza.
De-radicalizing.
No,
They failed in
radicalizing.
de-radicalizing.
They were successful
No,
in
no.
radicalizing.
What
This
I
is what
was
they were. That was their goal. That was their stated mission.
So my statement uh, UNRWA was successful, unsuccessful in de-radicalizing, or
Yeah,
UNRWA
but UNRWA
failed
was
in.
not. UNRWA was created to radicalize, not to de-radicalize. You are. This is
Oh,
distortion of
okay.
history. You don't know what UNRWA is. UNRWA was not there to de-radicalize. UNRWA was created to radicalize. The only
By the way,
reason UNRWA was
by the way,
created it was
I
to
should give a
radicalize.
yeah. By the way, I should give a hint to what the speaker is, the caller. She's much interested in UNRWA, and even we had a call last day, and she was also asking about the same thing. So, thank you so much for raising the question again. Okay, so you can go on.
Okay,
It's
so
important to know
I
the
mean,
historical the reality. The reality is that UNRWA was created to radicalize, and they were very successful in doing so. And that is
yeah,
the right way to
that's
frame it, because this is the truth about the way they were founded.
That's even sad to hear, actually. I mean, the other day, as Arif was saying, we discussed about it and we were like, it's very disappointing that these things are coming from UN or UN appointed agencies. But what I'm hearing from you is even further sad. So, my question was, if one state solution is something that you think is the way forward, how do you think how is it possible to de-radicalize the younger generation in Gaza or West Bank? Because UNRWA was very successful in radicalizing. I mean, I saw some of the videos wherein, I mean, very small kids, raising slogans, which is very appalling.
To ridicule, they have to learn all the value systems. No rape, no murder, no stealing. The way you solve conflicts is with argumentation, debate, and using logical means and reasoning skills. You have to teach them all of those things from scratch. This is the only way you can de-radicalize them. And I want you to notice something. It has nothing to do with Israel.
Yes, but you do share
The way you de-radicalize them, that you have to teach everything that civilization had learned in order to actually build a functioning society. How to debate, how to use logic, how to use reason, empathy, women rights, no, respecting human bodies, allowing allowing disagreement, allowing plural opinions, only enforcing laws that have to do with violation of other people's right of life and security.
Mm. So
And
that
this is
would
what they
mean,
need. This is what they need to learn, and this is how they can get de-radicalized. And it has nothing to do with Israel. It's not about Israel. You see, when you have they're a mafia, the way they make money is by stealing. You have to have somebody to steal from. Israel, somebody has to be the victim. It has nothing to do with Israel. Somebody has to be the victim. So you have to structure a society that can be productive, that can supply itself, that can work the ground, can believe in agriculture, that believes that there is so much more honor in drinking wine they don't drink wine, but like grape juice, when you are the ones that were raising the grapes and not by stealing the grapes from your neighbors. If the value system that they have teaches them that it doesn't matter how they got the grape juice as long as they have grape juice,
Yeah.
then it's a problem.
So as a follow-up question to that, so who will be doing the policing on the part? At least initially, there has to be very strict policing on that region so that there is no further
That is true.
infiltration of. So is it something that Israel would be taking up, or is it something a peace deal taken at a Middle East level or along with US?
So the thing is that nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to do it. So the question is more, okay, if we want to bring forces from the outside, what kind of benefits can we promise them for them doing this job that nobody wants to do? Or if Israel does it itself, we'll be like, it's gonna be working on the Israeli society and saying, hey, it's not fair. We didn't give birth to those people that we suddenly have to educate and teach them that stealing is bad and murdering is bad and that you shouldn't rape your neighbor's daughter. But somebody has to do it, and that's the only way we can continue as a humanity, in general. Somebody has to do it. So Israel tried pretty hard from the get-go to get anyone else to do it, but nobody really wants to do it. So it might have to be us. And I actually think there is a lot of thing to do inside of the Israeli society of saying, hey, in the end of this thing, we're gonna have to go to Gaza and start talking to the children and telling them, hey, this is our moral system and things like that. And it's also like work that a lot of Israelis are now understanding that we don't want to do it. It's not our thing. And like Israelis, Jews, like you do you, we do us. We don't want to take somebody else's, like our neighbors' children, and start teaching them values, right? But unfortunately, the Israeli society is like debating and is like facing the awful, dreadful reality that there are things that have to be done, and in a place where there is no other, you have to be the one that to do it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything more?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, nothing much. Yeah, but I really do appreciate how Israel is dealing with the conflict, and I wish all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks
Yeah.
for joining.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye
Yeah.
bye.
So, how's the experience, Rebecca? How's it going with you?
Great. I'm good.
Okay, we have a question on our comment section that is about the refugees or the Hamas fighters that you are taking in as prisoners. So, what Israel is going to do with them? So, how they will be considered? What's their fate? Any comments about that?
Of who?
About all the Hamas fighters or Hamas terrorists who is taken in as prisoners?
I think it depends on the. It's a good question, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Can they be fixed? Can they not be fixed? After all, they're also getting, just like Sinwar was sitting for killing Palestinians. They're sitting for real crimes. If they murdered, if they raped, that's the way they're being judged.
Okay, 1 second. Please hang on. Please hang on. Okay, we are just completing. Okay, Rebecca, we have a caller here.
Hello.
Hi, Rebecca. How are you?
Hello. What's up?
Hi, my name is Arun. I'm from Calicut, Kerala.
Yeah, from my city.
Yeah.
Hi.
Oh.
I have some doubts.
Yeah, please go on.
The reason of the problems we are facing right now is the ideology of Islam. Okay, but if you look back, after the fall of Ottoman Empire or after the 1920s, there wasn't that much trouble from this religion or these people. Okay,
Oh, there was
it's
a
all
lot.
happened. There wasn't that much. I mean,
You
that
know,
much
in the
international.
1920s?
No,
Yeah, there
after
weren't international news.
until the creation of Israel after 20 or
No,
30 years,
they
maybe.
were.
It's
No, what
all
do you
happened
mean?
after World War II, or maybe specifically after the First
No,
War, or Munich
no.
Olympic.
I'm sorry, you just don't know what just don't know history. I'm sorry, it's not true.
Yeah, but I'm
They were
asking.
trying to genocide the Assyrians there during the 30s. What are you talking about?
Syrian Muslim, Syrian Christians. You mean?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yes.
But what I read about this after 1920s, there wasn't that much issues from. I don't mean the Palestinians. I mean the total Islam. There wasn't that much issues from this religion, But
there
thing
was.
happened after.
There
Some
was.
issues in.
No, there was.
About,
We can go country by country if you want, and I can tell you there was many. There were many.
The all big attacks like Munich Olympic attacks, 9/11, everything happened after 1950s, or everything. Like even in India, we have 26.
But it's not true. But it's listen, it's not true. If your initial statement is false, there is nothing. We cannot continue this conversation. If you're gonna ask something based on false narratives and fake history, then your question is not gonna be relevant.
Rebecca.
Can I make a point? You are from a city, from our country, from our state, and do you know when this Mopla riot happened in our state?
No, I know, Arif, but
and what is behind that?
Yeah, the same ideology.
So 1920s were not peaceful. We have this riot, and that was the murder of Hindus by Muslims here.
Yeah, I know that. We will never forget that. I know
so
that.
So it was the same in the Middle East. I can give you plenty of examples. It's not true. There weren't that many people. If there weren't that many people, okay, I'll tell you what makes the. I think there is one thing that you have to take into account. All right,
Rebecca, if you could give a particular instance or a
yes. No, I'm gonna give a particular data point that is critical to understand. The Middle East, the whole of the Middle East was completely empty, almost in the 1920s. There was an explosion of population. When you think there wasn't much, it's because there were no people. Compared to the population size, there was a lot, but there wasn't any population. Every country, in the 1960s, there were less than 500,000 people living in Jordan. 1960. So imagine how many lived in 1920, even less, right? So in 1960, there were only less than 500,000. Now there are 11 million people living in Jordan. Every country in the Middle East is the same numbers. Okay, when you think that there wasn't such a large scale of things that the way there is now, it's because there were no people.
Yeah,
it's a number
maybe that's
thing.
So I have
that's it.
People saying that there was nothing until after the fall of his Ottoman Empire, until the creation of Israel. There was no problem, no attack like that. Everything happened after the creation of Israel, like that. People saying that. Actually, I'm a supporter of Israel. I love your country. I even got the job opportunity to come there, but the current situation, that's why I didn't choose it. But so many people saying that everything starts problems starting after the
Ottoman Empire failure.
The
creation of Israel. Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Even in India,
but everything you ever okay, if your question assumes there was some kind of relaxation in the 1920s, this is a false premise, that was maybe
No,
created in
after
your
9.
mind because of lack of population, and there I can give you a lot of examples that prove otherwise.
Yeah, that makes
So
sense.
if your
Population.
question is not assuming that a statement that you made as a fact in the beginning, then it's relevant. But otherwise, like, and I want to hear it. But if your question assumes that there was any period of relaxation, that I'm sorry to tell you there wasn't, and you're just not aware of it. That's the only thing.
Yeah, I'm not that much. I didn't know that this Israel Palestine things. I started learning like since maybe last 1 year, like that only. I didn't know that much
Yeah, it's
fact.
okay. I've been living
That's why
this life all
I
my
was
whole life.
curious.
So.
People think that
It's not just with you. Everyone is learning history just because of this war.
yeah, people,
Maybe for
some
the first
people,
time.
yeah, some people, lie. They lie a lot. I understand so many things. I used to watch Arif Hussein's video also, and Miss Rebecca, your video also. I'm a regular, regular viewer. I used to watch
I'm happy to
both
hear
of you
that.
channels.
Yeah, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
that's like
You can consider subscribing to Rebecca's video as well because she
I already
discusses
did.
a lot
Actually,
of
I already did
a
like
lot
this.
of things like this.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So
Talking
you
to me.
can do one thing. You can just go back and refer all this, and you can go and
Mm-hmm.
join in one of her videos, which happens I think almost once in 2 or 3 days. She has these videos,
Yeah.
so you can join there and
I've been
listen.
flaky lately because it was the holiday season here, so I was
Yeah,
like
yeah. When you get time, when you
not
get
doing
time.
much, but
Definitely, I
no,
will
I'm gonna
subscribe.
get back to track. So yes, and I want to have
Okay.
more Discord conversations as well with you all. So
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Arun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, Rebecca, this is going extensive. Like more and more callers are joining, and if we sit by this, we won't be able to end this. So, how about ending this?
all right, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
So, anyway, I'm stuck like this. Doesn't matter because
No, I
the
mean it's
voice is clear.
fun. It's fun because there is a lot of like all the colors thus far were not
Okay.
narcissists. So I'm very impressed. It's very frustrating. You talk to a narcissist, you're like, listen, here's the data you didn't take into account, and they're like, they cannot comprehend, like they cannot
Okay.
restructure their brain to add new
Mhm.
information. So tiring. But all the colors you have, wow, your crowd is very.
Yeah.
Maybe
If
just
I,
Hindus is a very the Hindu people are very, from my experience,
yeah.
a very quality, people.
Oh, okay. Hindus,
Hi.
in a sense, a
I mean
geographical Hindu or
Indians.
religious Hindu?
No,
Okay.
geography.
Geography. Okay, I agree. In
Yeah,
that
which
way.
really frustrated me. I had a long conversation with a friend from
Mhm.
India, and I was like, how can it be that I talk to you? You guys are like the smartest people I know. And
Mhm.
he explained to me how awful the bureaucratic system is in India. It's like
Yeah.
heartbreaking. There is such a richness of human capital that is not being
Yes.
used properly because of bureaucracy. I was
Mhm.
like, that was one of the most like frustrating like realizations that I've had. It was like, okay, what if you do this or that? And he explained everything to me and how
Mhm.
difficult it was. Like, okay, oh my god.
I think you are mentioning about the conversation that you had with the Kolkata guy, right?
No,
Is that
no.
no?
Here, he studies in Tel Aviv. He came to do his
Oh,
master's
okay,
here.
okay, okay, got it.
He's Hindu from Bombay,
Okay,
Mumbai.
yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, thank you so much for joining with us. For all the viewers in this on this side and on that
And we
side.
did it in private in real life, by the way. It's not online. Just sorry.
It's okay. Okay, got it. So, thank you so much, Rebecca. We'll have this conversation
Thank
continuing,
you.
maybe maybe after a few more months or weeks. So, we must talk again because there are a lot of things to be
Yes.
discussed. Yeah, so we can even talk to many more people who are willing to call and talk to you. So this is an experiment kind of thing that I did today. So I think, except with my camera, everything went fine. So thank you so much for joining with us. Any last word to be
Thank you so much.
heard
I had a
from
lot
you?
of fun. Thank you so much, all everybody who is watching. Subscribe to my channel I know people
Yes.
who are watching from my Reefs channel. Come to my channel, subscribe, watch videos, share. Thank you.
Yes.
Love you all.
Thank you so much.
And also, people from my channel go subscribe. I mean,
The language
I always
is a
remember the
problem.
language. Yeah.
Yeah, Malayalam.
Learn
That's the language.
learn the language and watch.
Yeah, and at least you have a lot of Jewish historical sites present in our place, so we have a common history to share with the Jews. So you can even try visiting this place. So the place,
Yes.
the Jewish town and other places near Kochi. So anyone watching on Rebecca's channel and interested in visiting Kochi, you can find a tourist, some organizers here, and you can try visiting here. So thank you so much once again. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. ഓക്കെ സോ നമ്മളുടെ വീഡിയോ ആരും കാണുന്നുണ്ടാവില്ല, എന്നാലും ഞാനിവിടെ പറയുകയാണ്, നമ്മളുടെ ചാനൽ നിങ്ങളെല്ലാവരും സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യുക. ഒരുപാട് പേര് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. ഇന്നത്തെ ചെറിയൊരു ടെക്നിക്കൽ ഇഷ്യൂ ആണ്, ഒരു ടെക്നിക്കൽ ഇഷ്യൂ, ബാറ്ററി ഡൗൺ ആയിപ്പോയി. നമ്മളുടെ 2 ദിവസമായിട്ട് ഇവിടെ ഒരു പവറിനൊരു ഇഷ്യൂ ഉണ്ട്, അത് ക്ലിയർ ചെയ്യാൻ ഒരു 2-3 ദിവസം കൂടി പിടിക്കും. അത് കാരണമാണ് ഈ പ്രശ്നമൊക്കെ. അപ്പോൾ ആരൊന്നും വിചാരിക്കരുത്, എത്രയും പെട്ടെന്ന് ശരിയാക്കുന്നതായിരിക്കും. ചില ആളുകൾ ഇത് നമ്മളുടെ സുനിത ദേവദാസിൻ്റെ കൂടോത്രമാണോ എന്നൊക്കെ സംശയിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെയൊന്നും തെറ്റിദ്ധരിക്കണ്ട, ഇത് ഒരു പവർ ഇഷ്യൂ ആണ്. അപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് എത്രയും പെട്ടെന്ന് അടുത്ത ദിവസം വീണ്ടും പൂർവാധികം ശക്തിയോടുകൂടി വരാം. പിന്നെ ഇതുപോലെ ഒരു സംസാരം റബേക്കയുമായിട്ട് ചേർന്നിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഇനിയും നടത്തും. അപ്പോൾ അന്ന് നിങ്ങൾ പ്രിപ്പയർ ചെയ്തിട്ട് വരാം. ഇതുപോലുള്ള ചോദ്യങ്ങൾ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത് നേരിട്ട് തന്നെ ചോദിക്കാം. അപ്പോൾ അതിന് വേണ്ടിയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു അവസരമായിട്ട് നിങ്ങളത് ഉപയോഗിക്കുക എന്നാണ് പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ ഒരു അശരീരി, ഈ നിലയത്തിൽ നിന്നുമുള്ള അശരീരി ഇതോടുകൂടി ഇവിടെ അവസാനിക്കുകയാണ്. ബാക്കി അശരീരി നമുക്ക് നാളെ കേൾക്കാം. അപ്പോൾ അതുവരേക്കും എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി നന്ദി. പിന്നെ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യാൻ മറക്കരുത്, ലൈക്ക്, ഷെയർ. അതുപോലെ ഈ ചാനലും റബേക്കയുടെ ചാനലിൽ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് കാണാം, ഒരുപാട് വീഡിയോസ് ഇതിനെ സംബന്ധിച്ചൊക്കെ പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അത് കാണാം. പിന്നെ നമ്മളൊരു ഇസ്രായേലി ഒരു യാത്ര പ്ലാൻ ചെയ്യുന്നുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ നേരിട്ട് റബേക്കയെ കാണും. അതുകൂടാതെ വേറെ പല ആളുകൾ, ഹനനിയ, നഫ്താലി, അവരെയൊക്കെ കാണാനുള്ള പ്ലാനുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങനെ ഒക്കെ കാണും. അവരുമായിട്ടുള്ള ചർച്ചകളൊക്കെ ഇവിടെ നമ്മൾ പബ്ലിഷ് ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും. സോ അതിനെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള അപ്ഡേറ്റ്സ് വരും ദിവസങ്ങളിൽ നമ്മൾ ഷെയർ ചെയ്യുന്നതായിരിക്കും. സോ എല്ലാവർക്കും ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി ഒരു വെരി വാം ഗുഡ് നൈറ്റ്. താങ്ക് യു. നമ്മളെ വീഡിയോ കണ്ടുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾ ചാനൽ സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല എന്നുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ അത് ചെയ്ത് നമ്മളെ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യുക. മറ്റു രീതിയിൽ സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ ആഗ്രഹിക്കുന്ന ആളുകൾക്ക് അതിൻ്റെ ഡീറ്റെയിൽസ് ഡിസ്ക്രിപ്ഷനിലുണ്ട്. നിങ്ങളുടെ ഓരോ ലൈക്കും ഷെയറും അതുപോലെ കമൻ്റ് ഇടുന്നതും ഇതിൽ ഈ വീഡിയോ അതിൻ്റെ താഴെ വരുന്ന കമൻറ്റുകൾക്ക് നിങ്ങൾ പ്രതികരിക്കുന്നതെല്ലാം തന്നെ വീഡിയോയുടെ റീച്ച് കൂടുന്നതിന് വലിയ തോതിൽ ഉപകാരപ്പെടുന്ന സംഗതിയാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് അതിൽ നിങ്ങൾ ഏർപ്പെടണം എന്നും കൂടി ഞാൻ അഭ്യർത്ഥിക്കുകയാണ്. മറ്റുള്ള രീതിയിലുള്ള സപ്പോർട്ട് തുടർന്നും നിങ്ങളുടെ ഭാഗത്തുനിന്നുണ്ടാവും എന്ന് പ്രതീക്ഷിക്കുന്നു.